Hey everybody, it's Jason here from Bull Boom Bear Bust, and thank you for checking out today's video. So today we got maybe kind of a catchy headline there, maybe kind of a dramatic headline. So housing bubble warning, U.S. real estate plunge 2018? Question mark. Okay, there's always going to be the question mark there. And why is that? Why are these things, these predictions, not definite? Well, because we don't have a free market, for one thing. The Federal Reserve is basically got the economy by the throat. Okay, so if they choose to lower interest rates, go to negative interest rates, which sounds completely absurd and crazy, but it's happening over in Europe and in some countries. They're going to negative interest rates in order to try to keep the economy afloat, to keep it from crashing. And we'll talk more about that in a different video. But today the main thing I wanted to get into was some warning signs that this year could be a very bad year for housing. Or, depending on your position right now, maybe it's going to be a good year for you. Maybe you've been sitting on the sidelines knowing that homes are too expensive and you're waiting for these home prices to come down. And instead of being in a bunch of debt, you're going to be in a pretty good position because you're going to have a down payment. And with home prices being lower, you're going to have some instant equity in that home, and you're not going to be underwater because you're going to buy when the price dips instead of buying at the peak. So maybe it'll be a good year for housing if you look at it from someone that is looking to buy a home this year. Okay? Now again, anything could happen. The Federal Reserve could come out and they can print money out of thin air, first of all. The dollar is not backed by gold. It is a fiat currency, so they can digitize. They don't even have to print money. They can digitize as much money as they want to, and they can funnel it through a bank or a company and buy up real estate if they want to. They can prop this market up if they want to. Now, I don't think they're going to do that because the name of the game is to pump the market up. All the suckers, all the people buy in at the top, and all the real estate investment companies, they stop buying. Okay, at the top, and then it drops. They pull the rug out from under everything. Okay, the people lose their wealth, they get foreclosed, and the companies and the big time real estate investors are there to buy up properties. Okay, people like Warren Buffett, he has an interest in housing now, and he, not himself personally, but he has taken interest in real estate investment companies. And under the umbrella of the Berkshire Hathaway, his company, Berkshire Hathaway, he bought thousands and thousands of single-family rental homes during the last drop. So people like Buffett and investment companies and billionaires and millionaires, they're going to come in and buy up these houses at the bottom of the market. So the name of the game is to buy low, sell high. So I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to want to prop this thing up, especially now with Trump in office. Okay, we've seen this. They're looking for any reason to take Trump out. They're nonstop calling him a racist. They're saying he's going to get us in a nuclear war. Okay, and I agree that Trump says a lot of crazy stuff, but just you can see how overboard they're going with all this. They're basically trying to destroy the man. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is the Federal Reserve, they're going to want to raise rates, which they've been doing, and we're going to talk about that. And they're going to blame this crash on Donald Trump. Okay, or maybe it won't be a crash. Maybe it won't be a plunge. Maybe it'll be a steady decline. All right, but here's what I want to go over today. So the Federal Reserve, they have been very careful about saying anything bad about the economy. Okay, because so many people rely on the Fed, which I don't know why. They've spread so much misinformation and they've been wrong so many times, but people still listen to the Fed trying to determine where the economy is going to go. It's notorious back in 2005, 2006, with the Federal Reserve Chairman back then, Ben Bernanke, denying that there was a housing bubble, and of course he was wrong. Okay, so now even the Fed is admitting, they're issuing a warning that household debt is at an all-time high, or past the all-time high now since they issued the warning. Okay, but what's happening lately, we are seeing a spike in delinquencies. Okay, so U.S. consumers are falling further behind on their loans, the loans that they use to consolidate debt. Okay, so the monthly payments are becoming unsustainable. Okay, and you might be saying, well, I thought this was going to be about housing. Why are we talking about credit card debt and consumer debt? Well, these are the first things that people are going to miss payments on. Nobody's going to pay their credit card instead of their rent or instead of their mortgage. Okay, so the first thing that you see a jump in delinquencies on is usually other types of debt, especially credit cards and auto loans, which we've also been seeing. Okay, but this is a sign, this is one of the first signs that something bigger, that a bigger event is going to be down the road. It's going to be coming soon. Okay, so in the third quarter of 2017, nearly 2% of all bank-issued loans were at least 30 days delinquent. Okay, and take a look at this chart here. You can see that we're starting to see this uptick here in the third quarter of 2017. And it had, of course, spiked up after the 2008 all the way until 2011. You see on the left side of the chart here, started going down. And it stayed down through 2013, 14, 15. Started going up in 2016, and it's continuing to go up. Now, as soon as we get the latest update on this, as soon as we get the fourth quarter numbers, which should be coming out right about the end of the month, we're going to put out a video about it. So please like and subscribe and be there for these updates. But also wanted to talk about some other things here. Okay, so we know the American people are in all-time high debt. That's credit card debt, that's student loan debt, that's mortgage debt, auto loan debt, all-time high debt, higher than before the 2008 crisis. Okay, so that's a big thing going into 2018. If they want to keep these housing prices where they're at, or to raise them, to have them go higher, if they want to pump up the bubble more, they're going to have to loosen the lending. Okay, so we're going to talk more about that too, but the next thing I want to bring up here is another big warning sign. So we know that New York is one of the biggest cities for housing run-up. Okay, New York, we're actually nearly 20% above home prices in condominiums. This includes, of course, condos, townhomes, and apartments. Nearly 20% where we were at the peak of the previous bubble, 2007, 2008. So look at this chart here. We had a 17% drop. We regained that in 2014. We were back up to where we were in 2007. Now we're 20% beyond that. So New York is one of the most high-flying housing markets in the country. Okay, so naturally, which markets seem to go down first when you reach the peak of a bubble? It's the ones that went up the fastest, right? So what are we seeing? We are seeing a huge spike in foreclosures, nearly 60% in 1 year. Okay, this just came out a few days ago, January 10th. Nearly a 60% spike in 1 year, New York City. Okay, so the cities that went up the fastest and the highest typically are the ones that are going to come down first. And this is even way worse than I ever expected. I knew it was going to be one of the first cities to come down. I expected San Francisco to come down too. I didn't know which one was going to be first. Well, this even shocked me, the 60% jump in 1 year. So the number of these foreclosures in New York City have hit the highest since 2009. Okay. And actually it was about 2 years. They doubled in about 2 years. Okay. And the New York governor has come out and said that the Republicans' tax overhaul would only contribute to more foreclosures. So it could get a lot worse, folks. So here's the chart of the foreclosures there in New York City. Okay, so staying on the subject here of the new Republican tax overhaul, the new tax laws, I want to get into that because it's something that I really didn't fully understand in my last couple videos, and I don't think anybody can ever fully understand any type of tax laws or tax guidelines, but the major points that are very important to housing: homeowners can no longer deduct home equity line of credit interest. Okay, so I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm sure most of you might know this, but when home prices go up, people tend to borrow against their homes. They like to take out equity, and that makes the economy look good because that means they're spending. But it also leads to higher and higher debt And just like we talked about a few minutes ago, we're now at all-time high debts again and beyond the peak of the 2008 debt bubble and housing bubble that we saw, because so many people borrowing. Okay, not just home equity lines, but lots of different types of borrowing and spending on credit cards, amongst other things. But home equity line of credit interest can no longer be deducted. Okay, so the New York mayor is actually warning that things could get a lot worse because of this tax overhaul. So historically, people could deduct home equity interest up to $100,000. Okay, so that deduction is completely gone, It's gone away. Also, after this year, interest paid on loans for vacation homes is no longer deductible. Property, state, and local income taxes now have a $10,000 deduction limit. So it used to be you can deduct much more income tax for property, state, and local income taxes. Now it's $10,000 cap on that. Okay, so it is something that's not going to be good for housing, to say the least. Okay. All right, so it's going to be a very, very interesting year. And just to recap who I am just a real estate investor here in Southern California. I live in San Diego. I do have a primary home that I live in, and I've got a couple rental properties. And I am not making as much as I would like at the rental properties. I actually have one of my family members living in one of my homes right now, which is a condo that I bought back in 2010. And that's why I like having homes and more than one home. I'm there to help out my family. In this case, I've got a family member who lost a job and had some medical issues. So I am letting this family member stay at this home for a very, very great price, less than half of what they would have to pay if they paid rent somewhere here in San Diego for a similar size unit. So I am looking to pick up more properties. Okay, and I work in the finance industry, so I can tell you firsthand things about finance. Now I do get some messages, people asking me about qualifying for loans. Okay, that's not what this channel is about. I talk about loans and debt to income ratios and things like that all day at my job. Okay, I come here on YouTube to talk about things that I can't talk about at my job. Okay, so I work for one of the largest mortgage lenders in America, and we're not strictly mortgage, we're one of the biggest banks, but I work in the mortgage division. And of course I can't talk about these things at my job. I can't tell people, oh, I think the home prices are going to crash, right? Something I can't do. That's what this YouTube channel is about. So I appreciate everybody watching, but I just can't answer questions about qualifying for loans and things like that. I know people hit me up on Twitter and stuff like that, but please like and subscribe, because there's very important housing stuff that we also want to put out that I didn't have time to put out today. We're seeing foreign buyers of U.S. homes starting to dry up. We're still seeing quite a bit of foreign buyers buying homes for themselves to live in, owner-occupied homes, but we're seeing less real estate investment firms buying. And that smart money is starting to dry up. They're starting to be reluctant to buy. Okay, it could be because the interest rates have been creeping up, and we're going to talk about that. It could be because of these new tax laws. It could be just because they know that every 7, 8, 10 years we see a drop in the economy. So we are going to get into that and more in future videos. I try to keep these around 10 minutes. I don't think people like to sit here and listen for 20 or 30 minutes. I know I don't. So thank you again. Please like and subscribe. See y'all later.